Happy Valentine's Day, my lovelies. Happy to see you at the Happy Medium Review tonight. For Valentine's Day, I am going to release this video hopefully by 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight, in honor of Valentine's Day and my great love for the supergroup, the Smashing Pumpkins, which is my absolute favorite, I decided to go ahead and do a 4-song review tonight of their 13th studio album that was originally released digitally in August 2nd of 2024. Then later on, it went on to be released as a physical copy, which we'll get to near the end of this video and how that all happened. And I decided one thing about this. I have a huge love for Smashing Pumpkins. So I decided that I'm going to call this 4-song review of Aghori, Mhori, May. How do you eat an elephant? Well, some people would say you don't eat one at all, not at all. Others would say one bite at a time. So, what I'm doing here is sinking my teeth into this elephant. The elephant is the song book in the catalog of the Smashing Pumpkins. Over 3 decades. It feels like 3 decades, we'll say. But really 4, and that's because, success does not come overnight. So all the behind the scenes footage, someday I'll get to that. But when you have a song book of 543 songs, you certainly have your work cut out for you as a person who loves lyrics and songs to explore for many, many, many miles, years and years, and revisit things as well that you might have forgotten about. And all of a sudden you hear it and you're like, oh, I haven't heard that one for 27 years. And that has happened to me, and it was one of the most important moments of my life. It really brought it back home. So I think it's really fun to review this album tonight, because that is kind of a theme of this album, is can we ever get back home, right? And as I started to research the album and understand that's kind of like thematic in the 10-song original release, which was done in August of 2024. And then there was 2 more songs that I learned of that I did not know about. That is an extended special. It has a 7-inch single, A-side 7-inch single with 2 songs on it that I will also get to near the end of this video, which is so exciting because I got to listen to some songs I haven't heard, and then I decided there was one song that kind of decided to play itself, and I said, okay, that is the next song that I'm going to explore. But what I really want to do too is I want to take more time for this whole album and look at it from different angles. So right now I'm doing 4 out of 12 songs. Eventually I will go ahead and cover all 12 songs. But again, like I said, I would like to take this baby in small doses because I don't really want to exhaust myself or anybody else, and I don't want to lose any fine detail. So basically, I decided really today is Valentine's Day, and lovers gonna love, and some of us just love. And if there is one thing that I just adore about Smashing Pumpkins, it's its powerful love message. Its light and love message has really helped me in a lot of times when I need it the most. And I always bring that up here, how music is medicine and it helps us mentally. and it helps us to process things and self-discovery, self-actualization. And I find this true to be true with Smashing Pumpkins. For me, it's very introspective. And one of the things that I love about Smashing Pumpkins is I love poetry. One of the next things I'm going to do and review, besides the Smashing Pumpkins hit I found that was rare, that I sent to myself so I would not forget it, because again, I am a super fan, but it can be hard to keep track of that many songs. So I am very thankful for lyrics. Also, lyrics are kind of like everything to me. I love biblical scripture, I love lyrics, and they're very akin to me in a lot of ways. I take a lot from both. So I mean, really, the next thing I'm going to buy is, I ordered it so I can review it and show it. And it's the 600 page complete works of Jim Morrison. So, that being said, I mean, he was the poet. He wanted to be the poet and not so much the rock star. Well, you know, with the Smashing Pumpkins, we get both. We get everything. It's like the eye candy of the videos, the live performances, they're excellent. There's graphic art in some of the newer videos. Apparently there's 3 graphic novels coming out, which, you know, as the super nerd of like Smashing Pumpkins fans, I'm like so excited for this, you know. So I mean, there's a lot coming. And what I love about Smashing Pumpkins is it's interactive. It can stand on its own, like each album, but if you're really paying attention, there's a lot ins and outs, moving parts, and other things that you could miss if you weren't really paying attention to all of it, and how intricate it is of a story. It's a concept story, but also each song is its own thing too. So, well, basically, since tonight I am going to focus on the words more than in the poetry of the music, the lyrics and the music. So the poetry in motion, as it were. I decided to start with probably my personal favorite song off of the album, which is Pentagrams. And what I love about it is when it comes on, it sounds like a beautiful kind of music box playing. And it's very melodic and rhythmic and dreamy. Just very romantic, I would say, is a great way to describe it. And mystical, and just has a very beautiful sound to it. I can't tell you all the instruments that are being played on this record. I'll get more into that into the next video. In this video, I'm more focusing on its message of love and wanting to return home. So this song is very beautiful, and it's called Pentagrams. And I decided the lyrics I would share from the song are pay as you go when we're young and dead heroes. Pay as you go. And this really stood out to me and jumped out at me because, like, you know, I heard this like when it found out it came out, because I don't know if I found out that it came out until like December, and I was shocked because I was kind of like giving myself a rest from music, because it's kind of like this thing where when you smell too many perfumes at the, you know, perfume counter, you need to like go smell this like coffee so you can reset it, you know. So sometimes you can get too much of a good thing, and I don't like doing that with my music because it's so precious to me, so I kind of cherish it, you know. So I did not mean to distract from the lyrics, but I am definitely sharing my experience about how I experience this music as well. So I love these lyrics. They really hit home with me. It says, monkey minds and medium, for all you know, true love, true love. You know, one thing I love is love. So I do know. And, you know, this music really gives us a point of reference and teaches us, like, if you could take this message, you can take love, you know. So the next song, I decided to talk about is who goes there. And this one, I feel like, is really kind of, pointing to going home, not feeling at home here on Earth somewhat. And the words are, who goes there? And she was on a megaphone saying, it's time to leave, yeah. So I found and I really, kind of put this out of place, but that's a beautiful line there. But I think it comes perhaps after this, which is, I decided to add it because without it, I don't have the whole context of this beautiful song, Who Goes There? And it's, so I found a postcard from the cross, said, hey, how are you? The weather is fine, if you like. That kinds of you. And it does say kinds, unless there was a typo on the lyrics I read. And I'm going to start using the codex, because I'm a super fan, super nerd of Smashing Pumpkins. I think my best bet is to always go with using SP codex for lyrics and even hearing the music a lot of the times. And also there's a lot of community in there, like as far as people who love music, like Smashing Pumpkins, and kind of like Reddit, but in its own container. And I'll get back to this because I really feel again that it comes back to the can we really ever get back home thing. So, and it says no one's gonna take us home, no one's gonna leave us alone, which is interesting because there's a juxtaposition there. Like, sure, they're not going to bring you home, but they're also not going to stop bothering you, right? So, from there it says, for the rest of the day, I've never been to Kathmandu. I've never had the mean to choose. So, I've never been to Kathmandu. I've never had the mean to choose. Well, this really kind of brings up, this is a good place to talk about this without getting distracted. One thing that I learned about this album, as I researched it, was not only was the question kind of, can we get back home? And we'll get to that question again at the end. Bowie asked a similar question when he said, is there life on Mars? Beat me up, Scotty. And, in these days, we're kind of in that position where there's almost like a space race going on. And it's like, which planet would you go to, huh? And in this case, I also find that fascinating because there's almost an answer with this album because the artwork is inspired by Saturn, which I'll also come back to at the end. The artwork is very beautiful, and I find it interesting because it came out during the time of the eclipse, which I believe was sometime in March, if I recall correctly, somewhere in there. So here we are on Earth, not feeling like we have the means to really choose the paradigm here. And what they want from me, I'm hanging around on tender hooks. If only we had more than time. And what I want to talk about, back to Bowie and Life on Mars. This is very much a theme with Bowie, constant. Changing, evolving, transcending death through love and light. But about getting back home, not feeling in place, and is their life on Mars again, you know? So it's very nostalgic and new. And that was one thing I will never forget I heard about Bowie. Because I'm a huge Bowie fan. Like, huge! So, I mean, what would we do without him? You know, and, you know, yes, his music is here, and his spirit lives on. You don't get rid of someone like David Bowie. No, you don't. And that's another thing that this album kind of points to, because the name of the album in Latin, you know, it means in English, my death in the spotlight. You know, so it has a lot to do with a legacy, immortal legacy, which I actually wrote a song with another artist called Immortal Legacy, which very much touches on that. You know, and love never dies, and it transcends time and space, you know? And it's one of the things about this album is it was really for the We Want Siamese Dreams Too, If You Please Too, like, crowd. And honestly, they wanted Siamese Dreams Too for a while. So Billy kind of threw that in there. Oh, and I can say Billy because he wrote everything. And in the studio, 13th studio album, he did all the instruments too. In the studio. Now, not live, on tour. You gotta bring them along. So everybody, not bring them along, you know, don't get me wrong. But, you know, take the people along so they can play the instruments. Lenny Kravitz did this with, It's Not Over Till It's Over. I mean, I love the album. It'll come to me later, but I loved it. I would see him back then. But one thing that I'll never forget they said about Bowie was that he really was like a Janus figure. He had like one foot firmly planted in the past and one foot firmly planted in the future. So I feel this way about the Smashing Pumpkins. I think they nailed that to the letter, and it blows it out of the park. So I really want that to be said, and the beauty of it, that's why it's progressive. That's why it's progressive rock and alternative and pushing the buck at all times, and it keeps going, and it keeps unfolding, and it keeps evolving, and it keeps getting better than ever. You know, I once heard Nick Cave said that, you know, like, people think that you should get worse with time, like, and indeed, as you become more practiced and more, you know, learned, you should become better. So that seems to be the case here with the Smashing Pumpkins. They're just, you know, it's Fireworks City. I'm just been so amazed by it, and it's so refreshing to see it. And so here comes the You Can't Go Home Again. Well, Billy asked, what if we tried anyway? Yeah, well, that brings us to Sighommi, the first single, which was released on the same day, I believe, as the album was. So what did I want to really say about Sighommi? So here's the words I wanted to share from it. Nails to the quick, daddy died and liars lie. A dash in, bittersweet. What's that make of me? Save a lost thing. Choice. No choice, but a choice to leave. Again, getting out of here. You know, getting out of here. Because, you know, sometimes I do feel like my life story is fast car. Because times are tough, you know. And I think this, again, points to this nostalgic, wistful, beautiful, like, place we want to return. But I think if we really were to go back to a song that's going to come up later on, it tells us where maybe we're longing to go back to, where home might be. I mean, Saturn, because of the artwork, and I'm going to talk again more about that, is actually inspired by a photo of Saturn and its moon, the moon of Saturn, which is Titan. So there's that, and then it gets into, of course, Janus, January, Saturn. So there's that motif as well with the artwork and with the theme, which is very, very meaningful and poetic and beautiful. And the music is just either very melodic and heavy, which is my favorite. That's one of the reasons why I love Smashing Pumpkins, how it can alternate from very, very melodic at one point to very, very hardcore at another point, and that stark contrast really is the greatest sound for me. And so now we're still on. So now, as I've talked about the artwork, it says, as Janus exclaims, don't you flee, don't but stray for far. You can never leave this stage. So here it comes, the stage, my death in the spotlight. You can never leave this stage. It's not me. It's about you. Here in Heart, and now this is where I talked about the artwork and how it symbolizes this, longing to go back home, and whether or not we can get there. And this was, again, the first single released from the album when the album was released on 8/2/2024. So that's that. And I do want to give the artist credit for the work. Her name is Caitlin Fauci. That's the lady who did the artwork. And I was kind of talking about this before, but the artwork is a representation of the planet Saturn. It was inspired by a photograph of Saturn's moon, Titan. And like I said, the artist is Caitlin Fauci. And I don't know if I celebrated this fun, wonderful fact yet. But, oh yeah, I did talk about how Billy played everything in the studio on the music. But he also wrote everything, I believe, and he also produced it. That is great, and I love it. And it's flawless. I would say it's a swan song. It really is. You see how my eyes get dreamy, alright? My eyes give me away. But, I mean, really, it's a swan song, And I'm not saying, that might insinuate there's not another one coming. I wouldn't buy that for a moment. I wouldn't bet on it if I were you, okay? If you're a gambling person, I wouldn't bet on that because Billy keeps it coming, and it's always, always great. So stay tuned because there's a European tour coming up, and there is also an American tour coming up. We'll talk more about that when the time comes, because I am not going to go there like that. Nope. I got to keep the, info in the bag until the proper time, because for those of you who might want to be interested to go be part of the paywall gang on Substack, you're more than welcome, but you got to pay to get the top secrets, and I'm not leaking them for free right here. But I will leak that there is a page that's very cool and very interesting, and I'm kind of experimenting with it now too, and it's Substack. And the page is the official Substack page of Billy Corgan, as it says on the page, but it's called Orange Fades to Gray. And you can interact in there without paying, but if you pay $8.33 a month, you can really interact in there. and it's really interesting. So, for the people who are watching who might be super nerds like me, who like other fans, and there's like people are sharing memorabilia, and they're, again, if you're a big fan, you'll be happy to be there, and you'll be happy to pay the price. Because it's not about numbers and algorithms and getting clicks. It's about engagement. Engagement. It's really about engagement. It just is. I mean, the sooner we learn that again, the better. And we can do that with this technology we have today. So we don't have to fly away to Saturn, Mars, Venus, or some such. I mean, some people are going to Mars, some are going to Saturn, some are going, I won't say it, but I'll review that song by the Meat Puppets another day. Because it's one of my favorite live performances of all time. Yeah, I think we know what we're talking about here. Nirvana Unplugged. Meat Puppets. Okay, fine. All right. So, yes, I talked about what was going to be next up. And with that, so here's my thing. I watched some videos about this before I did it to get some ideas about how I would want to talk about it. And for me, I'm going to talk about how much this is poetry in motion. And to the likes of, that's how Jim Morrison wanted it too. And again, I'm going to review his book, so that's next up. But there's there's more music to come. And in between here, I did promise some reviews, but then I got sick. I got a sinus infection at first. I had to take antibiotics for 10 days, which was a rough go. And then after that, I had my cardiologist appointment, which I found out that I had, last year, around March of last year, I found out I have a heart condition called atrial AFib. We'll call it AFib for now. And I'm on about 9 different life-saving medications for it, and I'm normal. My heart's normal for the first time in my life, because I was born with this heart condition. And it, my heart rate was double, my blood pressure was through the roof, I was retaining water, and I just had an amazing, speaking of swan song, transformations. And I'm really just happy to be here and share the joy of this, of art and literature, and uplifting things about our culture that we should cherish, archive, and value. And respect. So I am here doing that. And if I missed anything, I'll catch up later, because there's a lot more coming. And I'm going to be a little late on this video because I want it done at a certain time, but I'll try to do it a different way, but all the same. And I'm excited about this. And again, I want to say what I wanted to talk about in this video was the beauty of the words and the music. The other day I was listening to Smashing Pumpkins. It was on an algorithm, and I fell asleep, and it was the best sleep I've had in quite a long time. It was like being inside of a dream. So if you ever feel like you're having a hard day, you just want to unwind and relax and breathe in love and light, Smashing Pumpkins it is. We'll get more of the elephant down the hatch when I come back with more, and I am going to do something else in between, because remember, smelling those coffee beans and resetting so it stays fresh in your mind. Nostalgic but fresh. That was the whole theme. And you know what? I think it's very brave to try to get back home. Oh, and I wanted to say that heaven in that scenario, in that song, I hope I talked about it, Fromosa is the last song. And I think I better go back and look, make sure I talked about that song, because it kind of really brings it all back home. And I almost did forget. So, I am going to come back to this and talk about it, because it's like the kind of what I wanted to end with. So it's called so when the album was released, physically, the copy was released, it was an extended special version, 7-inch A-side single 2 songs, free with the Madame Zuzu's vinyl. It had 2 songs on it, and it was Fromosa and Our Lady of Sorrow. And I chose to talk about Fromosa because Fromosa is really, again, about the return to home and where that might be. And it says, impressions of a feet, impressions of your scream. Take your sights for what's the between, in fever, in times along the way. Our sorrows are the same. Cruel thing, mean fling, cruel fling, mean fling of love. And what I got from Who Goes There is heaven is where we're trying to return to, if I'm not mistaken. That was my math. And I think I got it all right. But if I got it wrong, at some point I'll come back and be like, you know what? That wasn't right. See you later, alligators. After a while, crocodiles.